All right, so welcome back, guys. We're going to continue on with our lessons. We still have a few lessons on triangles, and then we'll go ahead and move on to our next figures. But so this one, we have our special triangle segment. So our first special triangle segment that we're going to cover, it is called the mid segment. Okay, so the mid segment of a triangle joins the two midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Okay, so if we look here, it says a midpoint of CD. So here's from C to D. So the midpoint is a point in the middle. So in this case, this is our point in the middle, and that point is going to be R. Okay, now the midpoint of CE is, so here's from C to E. So the point that's right in the middle is point S. So right here, that is considered our midpoint. Okay, now they put these little tally marks here to tell you that S is a midpoint, and they do that because they tell you from here to here, from C to S is the same as from S to E. So that means that S is right in the middle, the exact middle point. Okay, the same for this section here, but they use two tally marks. Okay, that means that this side is the same as this side. That way you don't get it confused with the opposite sides, okay? And then when you take those two midpoints, R and S, and you connect them with a line. So here we have RS. This is called the mid segment. Okay, so your mid segment is when you get the two midpoints and you connect them and make a line. That's called the mid segment. Now there's something special about the mid segment. So the mid segment of a triangle is parallel to the side of the triangle, and its length is half the length of that side. So they show you here, right here is 6. 6 is half of this side here, which is 12. Now every triangle has 3 mid segments, and we'll kind of go over that in a little bit. But for now, all we got to know is that these two lines are parallel from R to S and D to E. Those two lines are parallel. Remember, to show that they're parallel, they can put little arrows on here. And then if this one's 6, and the other one's going to be double that size. Okay. So here it says, name the mid segments of triangle QRS. Okay, so the mid segments here we have LM. That's one of the mid segments. Remember, we put a little segment symbol on top. The other one is going to be from M to N. Okay, so here I'm going to put MN. And then the last one is going to be, L to N. So LN. Okay. Then it says which segment is parallel to QS. Okay, so here is QS, and then here's MN. It is parallel to MN. So QS, the parallel line to QS is MN. Okay, then it says complete the following statement from L to M. So let me go ahead and find LM. This is LM. LM should be the same as from S to N and from N to R. Because remember, this side right here is always double its size, okay? The whole thing's double its size, but that means this piece should be the same as this piece and also this piece. I'm going to put 3 little tally marks here. So LM, SN, and NR. Okay. Now here it says in the diagram, UV and WU are mid segments. Okay, so they tell us these are mid segments already. This one right here and this one right here. Of this triangle, find each measure. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start right off the bat. If I know that from here to here is 5, then that means that this whole thing from here to here is 10. Okay, so from X to Y. Then that means that this little piece has to be 5, and this little piece here also has to be 5 in order for it to add up to 10. Okay. Then on this section here, they tell us that this is 8. So if that is 8, then that means that this piece over here has to be half of that, which is 4. Okay, and then this little piece should be 4, and this little piece should be 4. And that's all the information that they give us, so that's all we can find. So then they're asking us from W to Y. So from W to Y is this piece right here, which we said was 5. So I'm going to put a 5 here. From X to W, this section here is also going to be 5. And then from U to W is 4. And I think that's it. All right, so here's another one. It says find each measure. Now they're including a few of the angles. So we're going to have to use what we know from the angles of a triangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and look at what they give us and try to figure out everything else. So from here to here is 46. So that means that this side that's parallel, this mid-segment, that is also going to be half of that 46. So half of 46 is 23, which means this piece is 23. Oh, 23, and this piece is also 23. Okay, and then let's see what else we can figure out. Here, this piece is 27, so that means that this little section should be 27, and this little section should be 27, which would be a total of 54, I believe. 54, yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna put here, this is 27, and this is 27. Okay. Last, they do give us these little tally marks here, but they don't give us very much information. These little tally marks, but I believe they're not asking us for this little section. Okay, so we're good there. Let's see. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill these in. We have from V to X. So from V to X, we said was 23. Okay, and then they want us to find from H to J. So H to J, we said was the whole thing was 54. And then next we have X to J, which is half of that, which was a 27. Okay. Now they're going to want us to find a few angles. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Okay, just so we can, now we're going to focus on the angles. Okay, so they tell us that this angle here is 92, which is one of the angles of the triangle. Okay. And so if that is 92, we do know that this line is parallel to this line here. Okay, so we're going to have to go back to that rule that we have when we have two parallel lines. I don't know if you guys remember from one of our previous lessons. So this is a parallel line. This one's parallel to this one, okay? And the 92 happens to be on there. And we have a transversal. Okay, so this is my transversal. We have a few rules. So you have your corresponding angle. So if this is 92, then this angle right here is also going to be 92. Okay. And then your same side interior angle, so this one, the 92 and whatever this one is, they have to add up to 180 degrees. So in that case, I believe it would be 108 would be this angle right here. So let me just erase this real quick. So I have space. This one should be 108 degrees. Okay. And then, let's see. We have this line here, which is parallel to that other transversal right there. I'm just extending it because this is the way you would see your parallel line so that it can kind of you guys can kind of start to see it in your heads. So then from there, that means that if these two green lines are parallel and it's cut by a transversal, then that means that this 92 should also be transferable right here because they're corresponding angles. This one would also be 92. Okay, and then since these two are corresponding, same side interior angle, they means they need to add up to 180. So this one should be 108 plus 90. You know what? I think it's 98, not 108. Yeah, I don't know how to, not even, I think it's 88. Let me just use my calculator. This is what happens when I do not use my calculator. So 180 minus 92 gives you 88. I was way off, guys. So this is not 108, this is 88. Oh man, you guys are gonna slam me in the comments. Sorry about that. 88, just because I don't know how to add and subtract. All right, then lastly, if this angle here is 92, this one should also be 92 because they're alternate interior angles. So I believe using our parallel lines cut by transversals, that's as many angles as we can find out. At least that's all they're asking for. So let's go ahead and look at the question. So it says a measure of angle VXJ. So V to X to J is talking about this angle right here, which we already identified as 92 degrees. Okay. Then from there, we have HXV. So H to X to V. Okay, so that's going to be 88 degrees. 88 degrees. Okay. Next, we have WVX. So we have W to V to X. That is going to be 92 degrees. And then the last one, we have HWV. So H to W to V. So then it's talking about this angle here, which is 88. I'm glad I fixed that. I knew something sounded kind of weird, but I'm glad I fixed that before I did this problem completely wrong. But that's it. Okay. Now this next one says use the diagram to find FG. So when you guys are doing your assignment on Delta Math, a lot of your problems are going to be like this, algebraic. Okay. And so when I'm looking here, this is my mid segment, okay? And I know it's my mid segment because I know G is in the middle, and the reason I know G is in the middle is because of these two tally marks here. And then I know F is in the middle because of these two tally marks here. It tells you this side is the same as this side, so that means F has to be in the middle. So since FG is a mid segment, this is half the size of this one, okay? So what I'm gonna do is if I double the 5x plus 7, that is going to give you the same thing as the 12x plus 8, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. So first, we're going to go ahead and distribute this 2. So we have 2 times 5 is 10x plus 14 equals 12x plus 8. We're going to start solving for x. So I'm going to move over this 12x by subtracting. Okay, the 12x's cancel out. I get negative 2x plus 14 equals 8. And I'm going to move over the 14, so I'm going to subtract it, minus 14, minus 14. This cancels, and I put negative 2x equals 8 minus 14. Sorry, sometimes my pen just doesn't want to write. So 8 minus 14 gives me negative 6. My last step is to divide both sides by negative 2, and that means that x is equal to, I know I'm going all into the next section, but x is equal to a positive 3. I go back, they're not asking me to solve for x, they're asking me to find FG. So from F to G would be this section right here. So I do have to go back and plug in. Instead of x, I'm going to plug in a 3. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 7 gives me 22. So that means from F to G is equal to 22. Okay. Now we're going to go into our next one, and this is called the median of a triangle. Is a segment whose endpoints of a vertex of the triangle and the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay. The medians of the triangle intersect at a point called a centroid. Identify the medians, and they give us this one. So pretty much what they do, they take the middle. So y is the midpoint, and then they just go ahead and connect it to the opposite point on the triangle. Okay, so kind of like here we have J. J is the midpoint of this side, and then they just connect it with the vertex of that triangle, which is B. Okay, the same thing here. They take the midpoint of this side over here, which is H, and then they connect it to the vertex here. And then the same thing here. They take the middle of this side, which is H, and then they connect it across with C. So then our medians are going to be JB, and then we have GC, and we have H, which is a midpoint, and it connects to the vertex, which is A. Now it says identify the centroid. So the centroid is a point right in the middle. So our point right in the middle here is N. Now, what's special about this one is that the centroid is located at 2/3 the length of the median. Okay, so from B to N, what it's saying here is 2/3 of from B to J. So from B to N, this piece right here is 2/3 from N to J. That's what it's saying. So for example here, from A to N, so here's from A to N, this is 2/3 the way of N to H. And then last, The little line didn't come out. Cn, so from C to N is 2/3 the way of N to G. And I'm going to kind of explain this a little bit different from the 2/3. That'll be a little bit easier for you guys to understand. There, G. Sorry, I couldn't get the G to right. All right, so here MR, IY, and VN are medians. They already tell us that they're medians. So this is, let's see, it tells you from M to R is 24. Okay, so that means that this whole line from here to here is 24. Okay, so what I'd like to do is this whole thing, I'm going to put this whole thing, that whole thing is 24. I cut it into 3 pieces. So this piece right here, I'm going to cut it into half. So that's one piece. Okay, this is another piece here. And then this is another piece. All those pieces are equal. Okay, so if I take 24 and divide it by 3, that gives me 8. And that means each little section is 8. So this is 8, 8, and 8. Okay. That makes, let me erase some of this so it's not so messy. Oh, 8 and 8. Okay. That means that this whole piece from M to Z is not 8 and 8. It gives you 8 plus 8 is 16. So instead of having 8 and 8, I'm going to put a 16 here. All right. Then we have from Y to I. So Y to I, this whole thing here from here to here is 21. Okay, so just like I did on the other problem, I'm going to go ahead and take 21 and divide it by 3. That gives me 7. So that means each piece is 7. So this piece is 7. And then this little piece from here to here is going to be 7. And then from here to here is going to be 7. And 7 plus 7 gives us 14. So that whole piece is 14. All right, and then the last section, they tell us that from N to Z is 6. So they only give us this little piece right here, which is 6. So that means that this upper part, if I split it, one piece is going to be 6, the other piece is going to be 6, which the total thing is from there to there, from Z to V. Okay, so let's go ahead and answer these questions. I'm going to erase some of these parts just so it doesn't look so messy because it's just a little bit harder to understand. Oh, let me put 14. There. Okay, so it says from M to Z. So M to Z we said was 16. Okay, then we have from Z to R. So from Z to R, this little piece right here we said was 8. And then it's asking us from I to Z. So I to Z is this piece right here. I to Z we said was 14. And then they're asking us from Z to Y. So from Z to Y we said was 7. Okay, then we have from Z to V. So from Z to V, this whole thing here we said was 12. And then last we have from N to V. So N to V, well, the whole thing, N all the way to V, 6 plus 12 gives us 18. And that's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. This one tells us W is the centroid of triangle QRS. So because they tell us that W is the centroid, we automatically know that these are called medians. Okay, so Rx is 48. So let me go ahead and find that from R to X. So this whole thing is 48 from here to here. So I'm going to go ahead and take that 48 and divide it by 3. And that, I believe it gives me 16. Yes. So that means that this smaller section is going to be 16. And then this upper section, and remember if we split into thirds, that piece is 16. This is 16 and 16. That means this top section is 32. Okay. Then we have, it tells us from Q to W is 30. So from Q to W here is 30. Now remember this top half is twice the size of this half. So 30 divided by 2 gives me 15. Okay. So now it says find each length. So from R to W we said was 32. Okay. And then we have W to X. W to X is going to be 16. And then we have from Q to Z. So from Q to Z, this whole thing, 30 plus 15 is going to give me 45. And last, they're asking from W to Z. So from W to Z is this bottom half, which is 15. Okay, so here we have AC is a median of a right triangle ABD. Find the measure of CAD to the nearest degree. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. Now this one's a little bit tricky because we're going to have to use a little bit different math than what we're used to or what we've used before. But here they tell us that AC is a median. So this one's a median. Okay, which means that it is going from the center to this point right here. That means that this piece, whatever it is the same as this piece. Okay, and it says find the measure of angle CAD. So they're asking us for angles, but we'll get to that in a little bit. First, we need to figure out what this side is. Okay, now this is a right triangle if we notice here. So we're going to have to use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A, we don't know, that's what we're looking for. B squared is 5.5 squared equals our C squared is our hypotenuse, so 14.3 squared. Okay, we're solving for A, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 5 squared from both sides, 5.5 squared actually. That cancels, we get A squared equals, we're going to do in our calculators 14.3 squared minus 5.5. So 14.3 squared minus 5.5 squared. And that gives me 174.24. We go ahead and take the square root. So the second square root of 174.24. Enter, that gives me 13.2. Okay, so that means this whole side here we now know is 13.2, which if I divide that by, well, the 2 doesn't want to come out. There. If we divide that by 2, that gives us 6.6. So that means that this is 6.6 and this is 6.6. Okay. Now let's see. They want us to find the measure of angle CAD. So from C to A to D, we're looking for this side right here. So we're going to have to use one of our other things that we learned in the past. Our prior knowledge is that this is opposite this angle. This is my adjacent. So to figure out what the angle is when they give us two sides or when we know two sides is we use opposite and adjacent is going to be your tangent function. We don't know what angle A is, okay? But we do know that our opposite side is 6.6 and our adjacent side is 5.5. So opposite over adjacent. We're using our SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so to figure out what angle A is, we're going to have to take the inverse tangent. That'll cancel the tangent and just give us A. But what we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So in our calculators, we're going to find the inverse tangent of 6.6 over 5.5. Now remember, you do need to make sure that your calculators are in degree mode. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator. 6.6 divided by 5.5. And that gives me 50.1, but we're rounding to the nearest degree, so that's going to give me 50 degrees. Okay, so then that means that the measure of angle CAD is equal to 50 degrees. And that's it. All right, thank you guys. We'll see you next time.